Welcome to Ask Your Spirit Guides with Dr. Victoria Shaw, your weekly gateway to divine guidance and soul alignment. Each week, intuitive counselor and spiritual teacher Dr. Victoria Shaw connects with spirit to bring through live channeled messages from your personal guides, offering clarity, healing, and support on your journey. Whether you receive a personal reading or simply tune in, know that every episode delivers a powerful energetic transmission meant just for you. We're live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific on Soul Search TV, streaming online on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our mobile app. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and prepare to receive. This is Ask Your Spirit Guides, and your journey starts now.
So for me, I divide my life into two quadrants, right? Before my intuition awakened and after. And though I was a highly intuitive child, and though I know now that I was communicating with my spirit guides, right out of the cradle, it was in the later part of my life, my late 30s, that my intuition really came online strong, and I started to trust it more, and I started to listen to it more, and I even learned that it was a thing. I learned what it was called. And when I made that first decision to activate and awaken my intuition, one of the things that came front and center was this connection that I had with these non-physical beings, which I think of as our spirit guides. And it changed my life, because I often say, I was an extra free range child. Many of us who grew up in the 70s were a little free rangey, but my parents were really checked out. And I was an only child. So I had felt very alone for much of my life. And when I realized that I had never really been alone, and that I had these guides with me, and I could remember as a child connecting with them, and then I could connect with them more and more as an adult, it just changed my life. And it just gave me such just a profound knowing of the connection between my human self and my higher self and source and God, however you want to phrase it, and all that is. And what our spirit guides are really here to do is to help us bridge that gap, right? They are non-physical beings, so they are not currently having a human experience, at least as we connect to them. And so they're not encumbered by a lot of the conditioning and, the confusion that we sometimes have here on earth through our human lens. And they're, connected to the part of us. I sometimes call that our higher self. You might call it your inner being, or your God self, but they're connected to that part of ourselves that does know, that part of ourselves that hasn't forgotten, that part of ourselves that holds all of the wisdom that we had coming into these physical bodies, and also the wisdom that we are gaining from this human experience. Because as you have your human experience, your struggles, your wins, everything that's going on, your higher self, your soul is tabulating that and coming up with more ideas and getting more excited and wanting to do more things. And it's this beautiful cooperation between your human being and your higher being. And what your guides can do for you is help you bridge that gap, right? Because they are not in human form. And so they can see that way for you. Amazing. And so our guides can be, and we can talk about, there's a range of spiritual support available to us. But for me, the work that I do is help people connect with their higher selves and their guides, because that's when we can really navigate life more and more from that soul lens.
That makes a lot of sense. And so tell us a little bit about the guides. Who are they? Who are they supposed to be? Where are they? It might be a little bit elementary for some of our viewers watching, but for others, they may have this question. Who are these spirit guides?
Yeah. And, I was on a date on Friday night and I got asked this question. And I don't think my answer was satisfactory. And the reason is that, to him, I think I have great answers. I've been teaching about this stuff for 15 years, but not in this particular case. But I think the thing is that sometimes our human mind wants to know, right? In a way that, our higher mind, it knows differently. And so it's really important that I believe that when we're getting facts about spiritual things, and I'm a very fact laden person. I have, you mentioned them, 3 advanced degrees, okay, from fancy schools. And then I did a postdoc too at Columbia. Okay. Wow. So lots of education. But when it comes to connecting with my spirit, my higher self, my soul, and my guides, I like to have a beginner's mind. And I like
Mm,
to not have a lot of information, because
mhm.
then it makes it less fresh for me to hear what's coming through.
Sure.
Right. And so what the guides say is that, they connect with us in all of the ways that we can see them, that they can reach us, that we can understand them. And it's going to be different for everyone. And so it's really important to choose the framework and the
Mhm.
belief system that resonates with you right now. And also don't get too hung up on it because it might change. But the short answer to your question, that was the long answer. The short answer to your question is our guides are a range of non-physical beings that are here to support us both individually and collectively on our journey here on Earth.
Mm.
All right. And they can be guides that are specifically trained to support us from birth to death. Like my primary guide that I have the deepest relationship with, I know, before I came into this human body, he was the one who, who said, okay, jump there, jump now. Right. And has been supporting me ever since and continues to. We also have guides that sort of come and go throughout the lifetime. We can
Mhm.
have guides that like are ascended masters or archangels or, deities that we recognize. We can have guides that are animals or elementals. We can have guides that are extraterrestrials, right? And a
Mm.
lot of it is how we understand them
Yeah.
because that's how they reach us. And so, there doesn't have to be any dogma around connecting with your spirit guides. It's just a deep knowing that they're there and
Mhm.
that as you need them, they'll present to you in the form that you will best recognize them. And it will awaken a knowing in you that will, expand your consciousness and take you to the next steps on your journey.
Beautiful. And I love that. I love the description. And I just think it's so important also because we really are so supported by the universe. And
Yes.
we have so many unseen and unknown
Yeah.
guides, beings, elementals, galactics, angels, archangels, so many beings supporting us. And we just forget, we just have no idea.
Yeah.
And as we begin tapping into them, it's like, wow, wait, I have all of this incredible multidimensional support here for
Yeah.
me.
All
And
the time. Yeah. And it changes things. It changes things to know that and to feel their guidance. And sometimes, it's just a matter for me in those moments where I can just get quiet and just feel that love coming at me. Like
mhm.
that, that enough it's so profound.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And so for all of you tuning in, again, as you'll be hearing these messages from the guides, there's an energetic transmission happening as well. And what I always like to say is once you experience something, you can never unexperience it. Hi, Erica. So, once you can never unexperience it. And so what happens is the first time someone can be connecting with a guide, all of a sudden that opens up something for them that,
Yeah.
you know, there begins a transmission, there begins a connection, and whether they continue to work with you or themselves or just
Yeah.
open up their channel, everything shifts.
Yeah. And I have two worrying things that are in my mind right now, but I'm going to start with the first one. One of the reasons I first started talking about guides, for me, there's one channel that the information comes through. And I trust the channel because over the 15 years of doing this, I know it helps people. I know it's good. It surprises me. I learn things. And I see my clients have amazing experiences. So that for me is enough.
Mhm.
There are times when an individual guide will present themselves to a client. And I don't sometimes do. I have an offering, on my website where for a very small chunk of change, I will actually quiet down and introduce you to one of your guides because sometimes we do like to know a name or a
Yeah.
message. So usually the guide will come through. Oftentimes, there's a origin story where how you know them, often in a past lifetime, sometimes not. And then, there's a message associated with that.
Mhm.
And so, it is very comforting for us because in this human realm to know the face, to know the name, to have that, because that's how we're used to dealing with each other. But most of the time when I do readings, it's really a conglomeration between my guides, between your guides, between your higher self, between source. And
Mhm.
it's just a pipeline or channel that comes in to help you discover your next best steps. right? Or for you to get the message that is going to bring you peace, or for you just to feel the love. And, at the end of the day, we all come from one place. So we're all part of all that is the one divine source. And, your guides and you are part of that too. So that's how I work personally, but it's different for everyone.
Exactly. And well, thank you for opening up the channel,
Yay.
Victoria, and introducing all of us to our spirit guides. And I know you have some fun facts to share as well.
Yeah. Well, first of all, can I ask a logistical question?
Sure, of course.
There are a lot of people here. So how many, because how many readings am I given today so I can do some time management?
Up to you. It's up to you. So
I'll hit anyone who wants it. It's fun for me.
We have Heidi here and Bobna, Erica, Meg, Melanie. So if you can get to everyone,
I will.
If not, it's okay. And so yeah, just let me know. And I can take myself off camera right now if you want to talk about your fun facts, and then I can bring myself.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit, if that's okay with you, Tendrila. I'm going to talk a little bit about how readings work today.
Right.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to receive a reading if you're in this Zoom room here, or if you're at home and you're going to be listening to other people. And then over the next 12 episodes, I'm going to share at the beginning of everyone a little channeled message from your guides collectively. And I'll share a fun fact for you about how you can make that connection, even if you're not getting a reading. Okay. So
amazing. So
yeah.
Go for it.
All right. And if we have time at the end, then I'll go back to my 5 fun facts, but I want to make sure I get to everyone today. So I want to share a little bit. First, I'm going to tune into my guides just a little deeper. They're right there. And when I'm doing readings, I experience my guides viscerally. I'm very kinesthetic. So I feel them right here. Some people that see energy can actually see them, but I just feel them, and I can feel that they're very much here, and your guides are with me too. And, when you're getting an intuitive reading, whether it's through me or, an Akashic Records reading, or, whatever you do. And I know that there's going to be a lot of great opportunities if you go to the Soul Search Expos, if you work with someone like me, if you're going to watch some of the other shows, we have many, many opportunities, to do these different kinds of things, channeled readings, which are pretty much what I do. But what's really important, and I want to really emphasize, and I emphasize this with every new client before they come into my office, is this. Okay. And this is linked to one of my favorite fun facts about your spirit guides, which is you can ask them anything. All right. You can ask your spirit guides anything, whether you're asking them directly or you're asking them to speak through my lips, which they will do gladly today. You can ask your guides anything, but they will never, ever tell you what to do. And they don't have your answers. So you might think, well, then what's the point? What's the point of all of this? They don't have my answers, and they're not going to tell me what to do. So what good are they? Well, what your guides, right, and your higher self and folks like me in the world, when we are really plugged in, are here to do is to help you awaken what you already know inside. Because at the end of the day, we all have this beautiful wisdom inside of us, right? And every single one of us has it. It does not matter if you are spiritual or not. It doesn't matter where you are on the awakening path. We all have within us a deep knowing, right? A deep knowing. And that is what we want to access from readings, from our spirit guides, from anything that we get in the outside world. So I often say it feels like a catch-22. That's not. That when you're getting an intuitive reading, right, you want to use your intuition, right, or to see what fits and what doesn't, and to let go of what doesn't. Because what your guides are doing, and what a human guide like me ideally is doing, is helping you discover the answers that you already have within you. Okay. And sometimes when you get a reading, it's going to be really surprising. And, your mind is going to say, that doesn't sound like my answers at all. And then it turns out to be 100% true. But most of the time when we're getting a reading, there's a deep knowing, there's a deep understanding, there's a deep resonance where we're like, oh, I knew that. I just needed to hear it again. Right. And that's how it should be. And the one thing that we never want to do and I rarely use that word never, but it really just doesn't serve as to outsource your power or your knowing or your wisdom to anyone else, even if they're as awesome as I am. And I've given thousands of readings and, I like to think I'm really good at this. But what I am ultimately doing when I'm giving readings to you is I am serving as a pipeline or a conduit, right, for your higher wisdom. Okay. And that's what your guides are doing too. That's what your guides are doing too. They're, like I said, they're bridging the gap between your human self and your higher self. And so you are always in the driver's seat to really tune in, see what resonates, see what fits, and then decide what you want to do about that. Okay. And then the second thing I want to say before we let the readings begin, sorry, there's like a hair or something that is playing on my face, is that, for those of you who are not on the hot seat and you're getting these readings at home, or you're listening to these readings at home, I want you to know that there's always perfect synchronicity. And so if you came today with a question, and sometimes we don't even know we have the question until we hear the answer, you're going to hear your own answers through the readings that I give today. And I have been doing these group readings now for 10, 15 years. I do a lot through Soul Search. I have a membership community where I have a group of women, and sometimes men too, but mostly women. And sometimes we'll focus on just one person in the group, and everyone will email me and tell me afterwards, oh my God, that was so helpful, because we learn so much from each other. So I just want to remind you all of that too, that even if you are here today and you are not on the hot seat, and you might want to be on the hot seat sometime, I invite you to come and sign up and do that. But everyone's going to get a bit of wisdom today. Okay. Because it always works that way, because we exist in perfect synchronicity. All right. I think that's my whole shtick. I'm not watching the time. But yeah, I'm ready for my first reading. If someone would like to, I'll let you guys do this, Tangela.
Great. So let's see, do you have we can bring someone on
You
to
can, decide who is ready to go first. I will let you decide.
All right. So let's have, I know Erica, you had joined us. So why don't you come on camera, and let's see, Victoria can do a reading with you. Welcome, Erica.
Erica, are
Hi,
you ready for
ladies.
this?
I'm ready. It's so lovely to see you both.
So Erica, I have to tell you, I'm going to set the energy in a minute, but when Tangela was talking, she was like, yeah, we could maybe bring on a few more people. Your guides were like, Erica, Erica, Erica. Like I must have said. So I hope that your human self is excited about this as your guides, but I just want you to know, I was like, bring Erica, text Erica. So I'm excited to have you here. And I've never given this young lady a reading before, though I know her from some of the expos. Okay. So you got my spiel about how this should land. If anything feels uncomfortable at any point, just, tell me to stop, because I know this is a somewhat public forum, but usually the guides are really good at framing things in such a way that's like relevant to the context, right? So in a group reading or a public reading, things will be framed differently, obviously, than if we're in a one-to-one private session. But I'm just going to say a little prayer. I'm going to ask the ministry evangelist for myself and my client, Erica, with your beautiful white light. I love her energy as I open my heart to divine unconditional love and ask to connect to my highest self, guides, and angels, and those of my client, Erica. It's to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to release any expectations I have towards the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. Now, as I tune into your energy, there's like a lot of warring questions. So my friend, do you have an area that you'd like a specific question, or an area you'd like the guides to focus on?
Oh my goodness. I would say no, not specifically. I feel I have questions in general, that kind of come up in regards to guidance, about life. So nothing specific.
Guidance in life. Is there anything about romantic interest that's in your space? Your face says no.
I think I'm more so focused on the me aspect of things and making sure that I'm in a good space before I can then open myself up to romance.
Okay, because that was the question that was coming up from your guides, but I want to make sure that you're comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk about it. That's fine.
Yeah. First of all, your guides want you to know, Erica, that you're much further along on the path than you think you are. My read is that sometimes your inner voice can be just a little bit hard on you still, though you're getting tremendously better at that. I feel that the default programming for you may sometimes be to question yourself. And I don't feel that you're so much, it may have been something in the past, but I don't feel like you're so much disparaging of yourself. I just think it's more of a confidence. And I think the confidence the questioning comes to from a place of integrity, meaning you keep wanting to be the best that you can be. And to some degree, you've learned that in order to do that, you have to keep questioning yourself so that, you don't rest on your laurels. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. It
So your
does.
guides would like to invite you to loosen your grip on that a little bit. And, they were sharing my guides, but maybe your guides too, because, there's no time or space. One of the things that I was thinking about the other day for myself, but again, perfect synchronicity, is I was thinking about, I've been doing this now for 15 years. And, I think I was always kind of good, but I've gotten much, 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 much better, right? You keep getting better. Part of that's practice, right? But a lot of it's confidence. A lot of it's confidence, because when I started doing this work, like you, I had so much integrity and I was so worried about, steering anybody wrong that I questioned myself a lot. And I don't think that's the bad thing to do when you're just starting off doing readings. And, again, you want to listen to the client and give them authority always. But I've realized that as I've become more confident in myself and in my life, just in all ways, my life has gotten really more delightful, right? Because now I have learned to listen to my own intuition, to my own inner compass, to my own inner truth. And the more I trust in and follow that, the stronger it becomes. And then I live everything from there. And so your guides want to invite you to know that you're way more tapped in than you think, that you hear your guidance in terms of like what feels right to you, what doesn't feel right to you, what's the next best step when something is like off or someone is off and you like don't really want to do what they think that you should do, or you don't really agree with their opinion of the situation or their opinion of you, all of that stuff. Like, you are tapped in so much more than you know. And so what they really want you to do more and more is trust yourself. Because again, they're saying you're so much further along on this journey than you know. And that if you would start to trust in how far along you are in this journey, rather than questioning yourself because you don't want to be like egotistical or irresponsible, or you're going to do so much better. And oftentimes too, last thing I'm going to say, and then I'll see how this is landing. The last piece too is oftentimes in this human world, we've been taught to give our authority to external things, external people's opinions, people with lots of letters after their names. Don't don't do that. At least not with me, right? Things that you read in a book that, a teacher said is smart. I'm a college professor now, and I always joke, like, I still want my students to find their answers, right? But we're taught that I have the answers as a college professor, and you have to like agree with what I say. So a lot of times, those of us who have a lot of integrity, like you do, we're testing our inner wisdom against a metric that, is irrelevant, right? Rather than doing it the other way around, which is looking at the information in the world and seeing, how does this fit with me? Does this feel right to me? And if it doesn't feel right to you, it's okay to say, that doesn't feel right. I'm going to tune back into what does. Okay. And that's when we start to learn to trust and hear our inner authority more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I definitely feel that a lot of the voices that I have internally have progressed and have been very harsh voices, and I've learned to differentiate what those are, and just making sure that I do question myself. I do question my motives and things that I do, just because I want to make sure that it is coming from a place of integrity, and that it's coming from a place of love and care for everyone involved, not just myself. And I do, yes, I definitely do have the thoughts of, I should be further along. I think that's a very common thought for me
Yeah.
personally. And I do forget to kind of settle into the now and remember that, I am in a good space.
Yeah. Well, they're saying a couple more things on that. If you don't mind my elaborating, they're saying you're further along than you know. So when you say I should be further along, it's sort of like, if you're trying to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, you think you're in Arizona, but you're actually like in Pennsylvania. Oh, Pennsylvania is the East Coast. Okay, Ohio. You know what I mean? You're in Pennsylvania, like just, not all the way to the coast yet. Right. So your metric and your understanding is, and it's normal. We always want to keep going. So no matter, unlike, traversing the United States, well, actually if the earth is round, as many people believe, you'll just keep going. But you're always going to want more. You're always going to be expanding. There's not an endpoint that you're seeking. There might be a temporary endpoint because we like to have goals in the human world, but you're going to keep surpassing those goals. That's just the nature of the human experience. But so don't worry as you continue, through Pennsylvania and New Jersey and over the coast, you will not sink in the sea. You'll just come up with new places that you want to visit. But they just want you to know you're way further along than you think. And the other thing that they want to say to you, Erica, and it's so important, so I hope you can hear this, is that you are an incredibly loving soul. You're an incredibly loving soul with a deep built-in amount of integrity. And it's funny because they're giving me the example of when I work with people in a clinical setting where they have these intrusive thoughts, right? And so a kid might have like a random intrusive thought, like, maybe I want to kill my best friend, right? And it gives them a lot of stress because, they don't want to kill their best friend, right? And one of the first things that I tell them, I know that's dark, but sometimes we have these weird thoughts, right? One thing I tell them is, first of all, we're all going to have weird thoughts and, don't worry about those. But the second thing is the way that you know that you're not going to do it is the amount of distress you have when you have that thought. Okay. And for you, that's what they want you to know. The amount of stress that you have about not acting in integrity just shows how much integrity you have. So at this point, it might be a really good time to just like let the overthinking go and just trust that I have a lot of integrity. And I tend to make choices that are aligned with that deep desire to be of service and that deep desire to be in alignment with my higher self and others. And so I don't have to really sweat the small stuff or worry about it so much anymore because I can trust that I'm just naturally, that's how I'm wired. What sometimes happens is we learn not to trust ourselves because people in our world, right, that, maybe a little bit more an ego than you are and that we are, they see how much integrity that we have. And, because they're feeling like anxious or afraid, or they're operating a little bit more in their fear-based scarcity mind, they can sometimes be manipulative and make us question ourselves because they want to be our authority, because they want that control, because they, sadly don't trust in their own abundance and their own joy and their own power and their own nature. And so they mistakenly think that they need to control others for their own well-being. Now you are so far beyond that place, but some people probably in your world weren't that way. And so this is just undoing that conditioning and just reminding yourself that I am my own authority. And when I really listen truly and deeply to myself, I cannot go wrong. So I just want to let you know that. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Thank
And
you.
a ginormous hug to you for your bravery, for being called up to be the first person to get this.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that guidance.
I love you so much. And your guides love you so much. And I can't wait for the day when you can see you. I know you're getting there, where you can see yourself more and more the way they see you, because it's really beautiful. And the way others see you too. So namaste.
You.
All right. I'm going to let that beautiful, beautiful soul go. Okay. Who's up next?
Wonderful. That was amazing, Victoria. So beautiful. And let's next bring up Heidi Minervino. Heidi, if you'd like to come on camera, that would be wonderful. And just unmute yourself so we could have you join us for your reading with Victoria and the spirit guides. Hello, Heidi. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi,
It's so
thank
nice
you
to
so much.
virtually meet you. All right, Heidi. So you got the preamble. So, tune in, see what resonates, and then let the rest go. And I'm going to tune in now and say a little prayer to tune into your energy. And then if you have a focus question for me to focus on, let me know, and the guides to focus on. So I'm going to ask the ministry of angels for myself and my client, Heidi Mirabino, with your beautiful white light. Just bringing in a bubble for you and a bubble for me. You're really drinking in this white light, my friend. So I think you just needed that transmission because you're very thirsty. As I open my heart to divine unconditional love and ask to connect to my highest self, guides, and angels. You have a lot of angel energy around you. And those of my client, Heidi. It's to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to let go of any expectations I have towards the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. Amen. And when I was starting earlier and I was talking about my story, in receiving and first connecting with my spirit guides and how it helped me feel supported and connected and loved. I feel like that's really helpful for you with angelic energy. Do you feel a resonance with angels?
I do.
Yeah. And I really feel that energy around you, and guides too. They're not an either or. And, there's a lot of teachings about what's an angel and what's a guide. For me, again, I don't care personally. It's just how they present to me. But the party line is that a lot of our spirit guides, particularly our primary guides, have lived in human bodies at some point and are guiding us from the other side, but as those who have had a human experience, whereas angels have not had human experiences. So that's the party line difference if people are curious, but I don't necessarily know if that's true, but I do know that for you, there's like this beautiful angelic energy that just wants to envelop you and make you feel connected and safe and whole and well. And I feel that feeling of protection is really important to you. And maybe even as a child, you were taught to talk to angels, or that angels were guiding you and protecting you. So it feels like very, very familiar to you. Does that resonate? Not
Yeah.
at all?
No. To some degree, I've always been hearing guidance. I didn't know who it was, but I usually followed that guidance. And then I realized it's either angels, maybe it was my higher self or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's all those things, but I just see a lot of beautiful white light energy around you. And you also have to know what resonates with you. Do you have a question today?
I would like to know if there's any information the guides have for me in regards to my trip to France this week with walking of Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary.
That's why the angels came up. Oh my gosh, that totally makes sense, because that is like very much in that bandwidth and in that, yes, for sure. Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm so jealous. I want to do that trip so bad. So after this, you're gonna have Soul Search put us in touch so I can know who you did that with, because I have been called to do that pilgrimage at some point. For you, I think it's going to be a really lovely experience. I think sometimes with you, and I can't see your face, so make sure this is landing lovingly, because it is, because you totally hear your guides. But one of the common things that can sometimes happen to us in hearing our guides and hearing our intuition, and I alluded to this in my beginning, opening little monologue, is that when we have to know too hard with our minds, when we have to be the authority, when we have to be right, it makes us a little bit harder. It makes it a little bit harder for us to hear. And, when I first started giving intuitive readings 15 years ago, I would be really kind of funny, because I would tell people, it's the opposite of what I do now when I'm doing these group readings, but I would tell my clients, hey, it's okay if you have like a focused question that you want to ask your guides, but sometimes it's just better if you don't ask a particular question at all and you just see what comes through. Okay. And it's true. A lot of times in those early readings, things that would come through, sometimes people would say, that wasn't my question at all, but that's what I needed to hear. And other times what would come through would be exactly their question. Right. And exactly so it always works out. And I still trust that way. I still always let go of those expectations and say, the guides know best, my higher self, my clients' higher selves know best. And I'm going to surrender to this process of being a conduit or channel for their higher wisdom, because I don't really know, right? My small mind doesn't know the way my soul does, right? And I want to surrender to that. Okay. But the reason I did it earlier on was insecurity. I was so afraid that someone would ask me a question, I wouldn't get an answer, right? And that was ego. It's okay. I got used to it. I'm better now. Now I know I get it. I don't get it, but I always get, what is best for the situation, because I trust in that pipeline. Okay. So the more that you can orient yourself that way and say, I don't have to get the right answer. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be wrong. I just have to be curious. I just have to, see what comes through. It will really expand your awareness a lot. Right. And some of us have this early conditioning, right, about like just not wanting to be wrong. And it gets in the way. It gets in the way. Does that make sense so far? And the other piece of listening to your intuition, and then I'm going to hit the specifics on the path, because those guides that you mentioned are very, 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 very strong for you. And they have information about the trip and more, because I think it has the potential to be a big awakening for you. But the other piece, and I have to find the thread again, so hold on. I hate when that happens. Your guides just want you to know. They're shifting me, so that's even better. They just want you to know how lovable you are, right? How cherished you are, how delightful you are, how wise you are. And that when you can learn more and more to just relax into that, the sky will be the limit in terms of how you have your human experience. Okay. And how you hear your intuition. And that's where you're being guided right now. And, you're going to get a lot of dogma on this trip. You're going to get a lot of, this is what happened here. That's what happened there. And a lot of it is really cool. But, vet every experience with your own, and really it's not about like having an experience or comparing your experience with somebody else or saying, "Ooh, I had the same experience you did," unless you really did. And that's like a really exciting moment. It's about exploring this series of experiences, this trip, from your very own lens. You have a deep and powerful connection with the energy and entity that is Mary Magdalene in particular, both with like the archetypal energy, meaning the way that she's being interpreted now in our society and in our world as being sort of like the suppressed feminine energy, the female power. Does this resonate with you?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So you have a deep connection with her. And she says you also have a connection with her as her energy is expressed in other spiritual lineages. So not just the Christian lineage, but other lineages in which you've either been a part of or you have ancestral connections to. Does that make sense? So maybe Native American. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you think about it, these gods and deities and these higher energies have come through many different pipelines and many different channels, and everything is just a different way of understanding the same thing ultimately. So you have multiple connections and multiple bodies with this energy that you identify as Mary Magdalene. Okay. So it's very close to you. And she also wants you to know, please, though it served you up until now, please don't see her as an ever suffering female, because that energy is not resonant with you or anyone else. See her as the powerhouse that she is, always been there, always been working behind the scenes, and now really getting ready to bring, the yin and the yang together, the masculine and feminine, and be a time where the goddess, is going to become front and center and be more part of the world, but not because anything was wrong before, just because, things got a little out of balance. They're coming back into balance, but her power and light has been there all along. Okay. It's just that now it really can come into resonance with it. Does that make any sense? Again, I can't see your face, but are you trying?
Yes,
there you go.
Yes, it does.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love, is that your little friend in the background?
Yeah, he's going for a walk and he's just excited.
It's okay. It's beautiful. I love our animal guides too. Okay. And then the other energy that's coming forth. I think who you're going on the trip with is really good. But again, I would say allow differences of opinions on this trip. Okay. If different people see things different ways, or you know what I mean? Like the last thing you want to do is be part of an argument of, I saw this, she saw that. Like trust yourself and let other people have their own experiences, because there's going to be people having different experiences. And I just want you to cherish and honor your own without any comparison or worrying what everyone else is doing. I think you're going to have the most resonant experience that way and connect with the people on the journey that are going to be most playful and enjoyable for you. Okay. And the energy of Mary is one that I feel is more from a tradition that you grew up with. So it feels more like, I don't know, like more familiar in your brain. Is that accurate?
No.
No.
I came from, my mother came from a Hindu background and my father a Muslim background. And
Okay. So no Mary.
No.
Well, she feels more like the kind of feminine that you can understand, that divine mother, that kind of energy, right? It's not the powerhouse. It's more of that gentle, loving, motherly energy. Okay. And she's been with you as well. That energy has been with you as well. But the one that they really want you to explore and express is like that dynamic between that kind of powerhouse, strong, female sexual, and sexual is strong, but that's what they're saying. Female energy of Mary Magdalene, and then that strong motherly energy of Mother Mary, which feels more comfortable with you, more resonant with you, but a little less intriguing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but they're both very much in your realm. And I was born and raised as a Jewish girl, and I've been talking to Jesus since I was a child. And Mary was the very first guide that showed up for me 15 years ago, other than my primary guide. Mary was, I guess, the second guide that showed up to me for me in my early work. And I did a lot of work with her. So I love it. And I think you're going to have a wonderful time. Enjoy France, enjoy the food, enjoy the climate. And the other thing that I'm seeing is at some point, please make sure, and it may be like waters or something like that, but if you have the opportunity to remove your shoes and put your feet on the ground or in the water, in the brook, or in the stream, it's going to change your life. There's going to be a very profound experience where your shoes are off and you put your feet in some kind of water, some kind of stream, and it's going to just like a week, it's going to be a huge energetic transmission for you. So make sure that when that opportunity arises or you feel the call, that you do that, because it's going to be really powerful and really cool.
Thank you. It all resonates with me. Thank you.
Yay. Do you have any other questions? I have no idea how much time we have, but I think I have time for 2 more.
No, that was basically,
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Have a wonderful trip. That's going to be
Thank you.
amazing. Namaste. All right. Who's my next victim, Tangela?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Heidi. Have a beautiful trip and journey to France. Sounds
Yeah.
Thank you.
connecting with all of the Magdalene and Mother Mary energy is really powerful. So blessings to you on your trip. And let's have Bobna, if you want to come on and come up on video and unmute yourself, that'll be great.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I need to let my last friend go. All right. Let me say my little prayer, set the energy for you, Bobna, and then you'll tell me what you want guidance on. Wow. You have a beautiful energy. I'm going to ask the ministry of angels for myself and my client, Bobna, with your beautiful white light, as I open my heart to divine unconditional love and ask to connect to my highest self, guides, and angels. And this is my client, Bobna. This to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to let go of any expectations I have towards the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. Amen. So you have this delightful mix between kind of strong female powerhouse energy and the most like divine, loving, motherly, like just bring everyone into the fold energy. And it's just like, it's beautiful. Like it's just this beautiful, like goddess energy. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to connect with that. And what would you like guidance on today?
Sure. Thank you for your light and your transmission. I have moved, like my life has changed very drastically, probably over the last 5 years, but very much so the last 6 months. I kind of left my city life. I've moved up to the country in the woods, and I moved to a town where I don't know anybody. And so in this process, and my mom had recently passed away, so my parents are no longer. And my career recently totally went away. So there's a lot of themes coming up for me around safety. And even like a space holder I've been working with to get through a lot of grief and trauma. There was a rupture in that container recently. And so there's a lot of having to self-resource, but of resistance, like this deep sadness of like, I'm walking this path alone. I'm not married. I don't have children. And it keeps coming back to showing me of coming back to myself. But there's also part of me that is fighting it. And there's that spark of joy in life. Like I have a lot of support. And while I've been here, I have had access to angelic guides that have, come online for me. So there has been a lot of beautiful openings, but it feels very like solitary, and there's a lot of deep sadness. And I've been in these deep waters, and I'm trying to get guidance. Like, how can I start to shift that and to feel more safe and secure in where my purpose is and my life is and that stuff?
Giving you a big virtual hug.
Thanks.
And you guys are asking me to ask you if you don't mind sharing what motivated the move.
It was to really be in nature and to feel that really the nature part, and to feel like I have a space to anchor in that's mine, but not to be stuck here. So it's like an anchor point, and to really, like, I haven't been resonating with urban living, and to kind of meet people that are more like-minded, and this area resonated. I had like a kind of walkabout for a year where I traveled a lot, and I was like, is this my home? Is this my home? And so this kind of just immediately was a yes.
So the spiritual teacher, Abraham Hicks, has a phrase that I think will help you a lot right now, because you're doing a lot of questioning. You didn't articulate it, but I see it in your head, a lot of questioning about the choice that you made.
Yeah.
And the expression is make a choice and make it right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because so often in this human world, we're like, did I do that? And I'm an overthinker in that respect. So, I could get this one tattooed on my arm because I need it. But the idea is we often question our choices, like as if there's one right way or there's one right thing. And we're always guided. And of course, some decisions feel more right at the time, and then they can change. And sometimes a decision doesn't feel right and we do it anyway. And then we find that there was a reason why it didn't feel right. And, that's what your intuition is for, to guide you in that way. And any choice that you make from any place that you find yourself, right? You can always move forward and get to where you want to go. Okay. There's not one path. You are creating that path all the time. And so it has more to do with what you believe. And, your guides, I've always been taught intuition shows you it shows you the best steps relative to your path of least resistance. So if you have a question, you want to know where you want to go, right? You have all these belief systems and all this conditioning, and your guides and your higher self are just tabulating, given all of that garbage down there, what's the next best step, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. But here on the ground, right, we can choose what to focus on. We can choose what to believe. We can, right. And so they would like to invite you not to beat yourself up or question your decision right now. It'll all kind of come clear to you as you move forward what the next best steps are. But for now, it's around making this choice and really celebrating the good things about where you're at, right? Without sort of worrying about maybe something you left behind, or was there a better choice, because all those things will be revealed. So right now, your next best step is to celebrate the choice that you made and start to find the gold in it, even if you don't stay there, which you very well might. But because that will orient you away from the second guessing that I have the sense that you're doing, even though you didn't articulate it. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. It'll also help you wherever we can find joy in where we are. And I know that's been a challenge. You've had a ton of loss and you're feeling isolated, and a lot of things are, feel like they're going wrong. But if you can start to celebrate the choice that you made and the things that you like about that choice, even if you end up making a different choice tomorrow, it's going to help free you a lot, and it's going to help shift your energy. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So if it's, I get to be in nature, spend some time in nature. It's so quiet here. This is really great, right? If it's joining a wilderness, like a hiking group or something like that, because those are the people you want to meet, do that, right?
Mhm.
Start to celebrate what brought you to this experience so that you can enjoy it more. And also recognize that oftentimes when we make choices from our brains, from our minds, right, it's very binary thinking. And so we're thinking it's this or that or that or this, or you know what I mean? And sometimes that gets in the way of finding our sweet spot. And so the way to find your sweet spot is, number one, and this has come up a couple times today, so it's so fascinating, allow yourself to sometimes be wrong. Wrong just means, I don't think you're wrong, by the way. I think this was a great choice. I think it was exactly what you needed right now. I think it's just about celebrating all the reasons why you did it and enjoying all the benefits that it has. And then you'll see if this is a long-term thing or just where you needed to be right now, because that's what your soul needed right now. When I moved to San Diego, I had such a deep calling to be near the water, to be able to walk to the beach. It was so important to me. One of the things that I've discovered about living as close to the beach as I do in San Diego is sun is a little more limited here than it is if I lived 15 minutes inland, and I really like the sun. So at some point I may shift. It wasn't a mistake moving here. I'm so grateful. I've made amazing friends. The energy here is amazing. Being able to walk to the beach, the trails, the history of the street that I lived on, all of those energies I needed so much at the time that I knew them. And then also having lived in California now for 4 years, I sometimes think I might want to live a little bit further inland so that there's more reliable sun. Right. And then I just let it be there. And I know that if that comes to fruition, then I'll follow that nudge, but I don't beat myself up about the choice that I made now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, this choice was an intuition. It wasn't a
know.
mom's choice. So
Yeah.
that's why my mind is now questioning it, but the intuition led me
Yes,
here.
exactly. Exactly. So start to take the benefits of being there, and know too, your intuition is always telling you like what your next best step is relative to where you are. I've had people that intuitively moved one place and then intuitively moved somewhere else 6 months later. I'm not telling you to do that either. You're good where you are. I'm just,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
like in the mind says, oh, you buy a place, you have to live there 5 years. Why? If what you get is in the first 5 minutes, then you're good. You're done. Move on. The soul works from a different metric than the human mind. Okay.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
second thing that your guides want you to know is that you are processing a ton of grief right now. I mean, you know that with your mind, but they want you to know too. And some of it is deferred grief that even started before these losses. It's like all of the loss of who you wanted to be and what you thought you should have done in your life is all coming up now. Okay. Compounded by significant losses like jobs and family members. So it's pretty huge. But what they want you to know is this is kind of like a shedding process. Okay. And what, if you look at it like a shedding process, is I'm getting rid of all of those old ideologies, all of those old layers and masks and senses of myself and other people's views of myself and other people's expectations of what I was supposed to do and who I was supposed to be. This is an opportunity for me to let go of all of those things so that I can really tap in and be who I am. You have such a ginormous motherly energy. I cannot imagine that you have not been mothering everyone in your world since you came out of the womb. Okay.
Yeah.
So though you may not have yet had children of your own, and that may or may not be in the cards for you, I don't know what your plans or your interest is. You have, your guides say you have embodied the divine mother energy beautifully. And now it's your turn to give it back to yourself. to give it back to yourself. And most importantly, to allow other people to bring it to you. And you're going to start more and more as you bring it to yourself, as you allow it, and you're going to start to bring and find the people that can really like take care of you in a clean, clear, and aligned way. Okay. Rather than past experiences with people that could get a little of the job done, but it, it's like, it was 2 sips of milk and 10 sips of scotch. And, scotch isn't great when you're nursing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you're really part of a great thing, but they say, keep resourcing yourself, keep honoring yourself, and keep celebrating the decision you made. Look for reasons to be happy here rather than questioning yourself. And remember too, it's, as someone who moved cross country a couple of years ago, and though I never doubted the decision, it wasn't easy at first. There were moments at first when I was like, wait, what was I thinking? It seemed like so much fun when my guides were telling me to do it. And now I have to make friends and, find the grocery store and, so be gentle with yourself around that. It will take time. But I do agree with you. I think that you're really where you need to be right now. And your guide's final words to you, my friend, is cherish yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
Mwah, sending you so much love.
Thank you.
Yeah. And some of that love, if you deserve all of it 10 times back showered upon you. And I hope you can receive that. But they're saying she took like 1% of the love that she's put out of the world and just streamed that back in. That would be more than enough because you have given so much.
Yeah.
Okay. But it should be like 100 times what you've put out because we're infinite and we should just keep bringing it in.
Yeah.
All right. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think we have time for 2 more.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That was beautiful reading for Bobna. And I now will have Meg Douglas come on.
Okay.
Meg, if you want to come on camera and off mute, that'll be wonderful.
Yay, Meg. So good to see you.
You too. I was
All right.
actually talking about you this morning.
It's so funny. All right. Yay. And can I share, because it was another soul searcher that you found through my podcast that you also connected with. So it's like, it's a tribe, man. You recently,
I'm an open book. You can share anything.
Yeah. She recently did a training, Tangela with Darren Starwin after he was on my show. So it's just so cool how, we all, the work that you do, my friend, is so important. And, cause Tangela connected us. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to tune into your energy. Now I'm going to ask the Ministry of Angels for myself, my client, Megan, with your beautiful white light as of my heart to, you have a lot going on again, divine unconditional love, and ask to connect to my highest self, guides and angels, and those of my client, Meg, to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to release any expectations I have towards the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. I'm going to let you ask a question because I promise I will. And I let everyone ask a question today. However, your guides are quite insistent that they want first to talk to you about your work. And it may be a new thing that you want to do, or a new direction that you want to head, or something that you want to add to your work. Okay. Or it might be your other job, but whatever it is, the answer is just do it. Okay. So before you ask me the question, the answer is do it. Just do it. Okay. So now ask me your question.
Well, it's kind of along those lines. So, I actually wrote my question out to be clear and concise.
Okay.
So I am currently in a life phase where I've been handed another big T trauma, about a month and a half ago with my kids. So it relates to my role as a parent, and this trauma manifested almost like within 2 weeks of me finally taking my 20 years of collecting my energy certifications and energy work, and bringing that, I had already had it calendared to bring it into the public eye and give my very first talk after Darren's class. And so this trauma happened, right along that same time. And I did get a very, very clear, powerful sign that I'm on the right path with, this aspect of myself and taking it into more of a business, and more widespread service, opportunity for me.
People are responding to you. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You put it out there and you're not having to go like,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I mean, I got a very clear, because I did ask for a sign, and I got a very, very clear, like 100% sign. However, it's hard to ignore this recent trauma. Like I had a plan and I was like, okay, I'm calendaring this.
Okay.
I'm gonna do practice sessions. I'm gonna get myself to a place where I can feel like I can turn this into a business. And
Okay.
then this happened. So what I'm grappling with right now is, I'm wondering what my guides say is the purpose of this additional fun phase.
They're good. They're good. They're ready. Are you ready?
Yes. It's
Okay.
hard for me to not use it as a point of doubt.
Yeah, I know, but they are very clear. They are saying to me, they started answering before you started talking. So that's why my face was. They want to know that you've had many lifetimes where your personal ambitions and goals or things, or even like soul ambitions and goals. So like things that you wanted to accomplish were at odds or seemed to be in odds with caregiving needs. Okay. And this is not a new conundrum. This is not a new situation. It's one that you've had in many lifetimes. Okay. You felt that. And they're showing me one in particular where you were a priest. Okay. You were a priest and you had this desire for this new initiative, and it was going to be pretty transformative, and it was going to be in support of women. It was going to be in support of women that had been, we wouldn't use the term now abused, but women who had been disenfranchised. And so they might have been like prostitutes, like people that had, they'd been disenfranchised, but in a way that you thought was unfair. Okay. They'd been unfairly disenfranchised by society. They might have been, impoverished or prostitutes or left their husbands or abandoned or unwed mothers. That's the big one that's really coming through. A lot of them were that, but they'd been disenfranchised, and you wanted to bring them back into the fold of the church. And you wanted to give them, this was the way that they thought of it at the time, like a path to redemption, a way to kind of come back, and not because there was something wrong, but because you believed that every soul had a right, and you just didn't. Every human had a right. Every soul had a right to come home and to like find their way back into the fold of the church and to God, and to be like held and loved and esteemed. Okay. And so you had this mission and purpose. Okay. And you wanted to do this. And you were very, very true to it, and you were making a lot of progress, and you were like standing up for yourself. But I see one woman, and the woman came forward. She was an unwed mother, and she came into your fold, and I believe she was a plant. Okay. And she accused you of, or was going to accuse you. And I don't even think she was a plant. I think she was unwell of being the father of her child. You were not. You were like a priesty priest, and celibacy wasn't a problem for you. Like that just wasn't. It was never a conflict in your life. You were very, very clear on like what you were here to do. But this had this conundrum because. And maybe even you stepped forward and said that I can't really remember what it was, but in order to protect her and caregive her, you kind of let go of the mission. You let go of the whole mission. I think that there was somebody very abusive. It was a very stricky thing. It was someone high in power, and she would have gotten harmed. And unfortunately, I think that she was very unwell. And in the end, you had to kind of make a choice where you had to give up the whole thing. I don't think you ever said that you fathered the child, but whatever you did, it put the whole thing in doubt to protect this one woman that you cared about. Okay. She might have even been related to you, but I don't know. It was more of a political thing. And you just like, it was in some ways the right choice in that lifetime, but a part of you felt like a part of you felt like maybe it wasn't the best choice, that you let go of so much potential, right? To care for this one person that you felt responsible for some reason. Right. And I think even is just the attention and stuff that your program got and everything got the attention of someone, and, and to protect her, you put the whole thing away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you kind of feel this now. That, I have to protect and take care of the weakest link, right? Before I can move forward with my task.
Mm-hmm.
And your guides say, no. Your guides say it wasn't necessary then, and it isn't necessary now. And even at that time, there was a lot of manipulation going on from this woman, from the person that this was Roman times, I feel like, but that doesn't make any sense because Catholicism, and did those two things interact? I don't know. But anyway, I'm not usually good with the history, but it feels like that energy. But regardless, that can of worms, they want you to know, is over. And by honoring that and being at that level, you let go of something that could have been helped so many more. And you were trying to help someone that wasn't ready to be helped. And in so doing, you let go of the opportunity to support so many more who were. Okay? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't compromise that now. Okay. And don't believe, they say in that body and in this one as well, this is exact words they use. They say it was a false conundrum, meaning it seems like it's an either or choice, but it's not. Okay. And that life, had you continued on the path and done what you thought was best, rather than taking the time off and giving all this energy to this one woman, she would not have been better, but she wouldn't have been worse. Okay. So we're going to let her go. And in this body, it's a little bit different because you do have some caretaking needs here, right? You do have some different obligations. Although in that lifetime, you felt like literally obligated to every member of your flock. So you felt the same way, even though it's different. But it's the same thing here, right? The metric by which you are trying to affect change in this individual is failing you. It's failing you. It's not the right metric. And this is words from your guides, because obviously I wouldn't say it like that. And by taking a step back, Meg, and focusing on at least 50-50, doing what you want to do, what you feel called to do, and also this role that you have as a parent, it'll be like unplugging yourself from the old outlet and then plugging yourself into a place that the current can actually run a little bit more smoothly. Does that make sense? Your face says no, but
I'm trying to process it.
Yeah. You're going to be there, but the bottom line is keep doing the thing. Don't give up. Don't look at this as a sign that you shouldn't be doing the thing that you're doing. Just know that this brought up some of that tension from a past lifetime, because it's around you understanding that sometimes in service of the greatest good, right, we have to pursue our own lives and our own ambition and not let ourselves feel like we're being derailed by the needs of others. Doesn't mean that you can't still show up and do things, but if sometimes when there's a choice between two things, you may find that a little bit more on the, what do I want to do right now? What feels right? I have this obligation to this other thing, may actually benefit the other person in question. Okay. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm sending you a bunch of love. And they say too, the level of interest in the offerings that you are given without doing very much work is a testament to you doing more of them.
Okay.
Okay. And then I think the rest can be a longer conversation, and you know where to find me.
Thank you.
Well, sending you a ton of love.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I want to share for listeners too, before we go into the last one, because we talked a little bit about a past life in that one. And, what often happens to me when I receive readings is sometimes what happens is and there aren't really past lives, it's all happening at once, but nonetheless, we often through our linear human mind see it chronologically. Sometimes when we have something that we are exploring in one body, and, we had some misgivings or some confusions or some areas that, I wish I'd gone left when I went right. And we wished it really, really hard. Another life will give us the opportunity to go left, right? And so I love when these past lives come up, because oftentimes in the human world, we have so many choices, and we often feel like our morality or what we're supposed to do is one way based on what we learned in this body. And sometimes when we can get that broader soul perspective and understand what we want to learn in the context of all the other lifetimes that we had, it can give us clarity on the choice in front of us. Okay. And that's why that lifetime came through for you today, my friend. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Letting it go. All right. I think we have time for one more. And that should be everyone.
Wonderful. Yes. And so we'll bring Melanie up. Melanie.
Yay. All right. Letting Megan go as Melanie comes up.
Here she is. Hi, Melanie. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you too.
All right. I'm
I'm
gonna
in my car.
all
You can't
good.
tell.
You can be anywhere. I've
Yeah.
many people who call me from their cars. All right, I'm gonna let go of Meg. I'm gonna tune into your beautiful energy, say my prayer. I'm gonna ask the ministry of angels around myself and my client Melanie with your beautiful white light as I open my, oh, you also have a beautiful energy. As I open my heart, so many beautiful souls on this call today. As I open my heart, but you have a lot of loss too. As I open my heart to divine unconditional love and ask to connect to my highest self, guides and angels, those of my client Melanie, it's to be a clear channel with which to receive and communicate their wisdom. I ask to release any attachments to the outcome of the work that we do together today. And I ask that the outcome of this work serve the highest and greatest good. When I look at you, and I mean this in the most loving, kind way, I feel like you've had a lot going on in your life right now. The one thing that your guides say, and again, they say it in the most loving, kind way. And if it doesn't land that way, please, please stop me, because your guides, they have nothing but love for you, and they believe in you 1,000%. And they see you in your best possible light because they know that's who and what you really are. But they're saying, they're saying there are times when you get overwhelmed, or when you tend to perseverate. You tend to get a little bit stubborn. You tend to get like, this is the way I see it. This is the way it is. This is the way forward. Other people have to see the way forward with me. And they say, when you do that, it causes you a lot of unnecessary frustration. And if you could allow yourself sometimes to say, I think I know, but maybe I don't, it'll open up for you to find the knowing that was in there all along without all the extra interference. Okay. So whatever the question is, and maybe it's not even a question that you had, what they want to let you know is, and it's come up a couple times today from different lenses, it's not about being right. It's not about knowing. And for you, it's not even about being right. It's just, there's a real comfort for you. It's like an anxiety reliever, and thinking that you know the right thing to do, and really like following that right path. But sometimes in doing it, you perseverate on a particular direction and it feels comfortable. But you kind of miss the intuitive downloads of like why you should do it. Like you miss some of the information that way. So if you can soften and say, I think this is the right thing. I think this is the right direction, but I'm going to kind of take a step back and see how things fall, how they align, just have a softer relationship with it. You're going to be able to hear your intuition more clearly and just relax a little bit more, and also not feeling you're gripping on to one path, one direction, one outcome, one behavior, one person agreeing with you. And you're going to open yourself up to the myriad of resources that the universe always is providing you with. But oftentimes we just focus on one thing because, we think that's the one. And sometimes like that can make us feel bad. Okay. So what's your question?
Well, my question is about love and romance.
Oh,
I've had
okay.
I've had an interesting path with that. So I guess I don't know if it's a question. It's more of a statement, maybe. I'm hoping to meet just a soul-centered or soul-driven, heart-centered, grounded, healthy person.
Okay.
And I feel I'm ready for that, but
you're definitely ready for that. You want that. But again, I think that if I'm reading what came through correctly, but try it on for size. You may have a strong idea of what you think you want and what it means to be a heart-centered person, what it means to, but that's fear-based. You're trying to, if I'm reading you correctly, and stop me if it doesn't land, but I think I am, it's trying to prevent what you don't want, rather than allowing yourself to discover what you do want.
Okay.
And so if you loosen a little bit and say, maybe a heart-centered individual does this, but maybe they don't, right? Of course, pay attention to the red flags. Of course, if someone doesn't feel resonant for you, but you've learned this,
I have.
say no sooner.
I
Yeah.
do.
Like,
Yeah.
don't you like, I don't care what he
Yeah.
says, like if he's like, I'm being nice and you're like, no, you're not, you win. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
listen to yourself, hone
I
that
do.
radar. But as you soften into knowing that you have over the years, like honed a great radar of what doesn't feel good. And when as soon as you know it, and you remind yourself that if it doesn't feel good to me, it's not good, period. Doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter. You won't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think, unless you're using kind of arbitrary criteria, because you have a lot of like criteria that you sort through that are mind-made. And it's about heart-based. Like you'll know when you know the right person, you'll feel warm,
Totally. That's
you'll
what I
feel
feel
good, you'll feel excited, you'll feel loved, you feel safe. Right. And so it's feeling into those qualities. And the guides say too, really spend some time in your world to know where you feel those qualities now. If it's in your friendships, if it's with your dog, if it's in your car. Yeah, that's really going to help too, is just noticing where you feel aligned, where you feel aligned now, in and out of the romantic relationships. And trust that the universe might throw you a few more curveballs, but only because you know how to hit them. You know how to hit them. And each time you hit one, it's going to give you confidence that, you know what I mean? You're going to see the good ones coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess what I see is that I've done a lot of work and release and expanding and opening and
for sure
learning to let go and learning to allow, but nothing being aligned that's good. I know that sounds weird, and I just feel like I'm not drawing in
yet.
I'm not aligned with it. I'm not drawing it in, but I don't want to think that. So I don't know what it is. It's interesting.
Well, I think another way of saying it is that I haven't experienced it yet.
I haven't experienced it yet.
And your guides want you to know that if you experience something that's not it, it's just helping you build trust that your radar is working. And that you're able now to clearly say no, 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 because you won't take that leap if you don't trust yourself, because you've had a lot of bad experiences where you thought something was good and you hadn't learned to hone the radar yet. Like self-respect has been something that you've been learning in this body. Boundaries is something you've been learning in this body. Self-love is something you've been learning in this body. Learning to say no when you mean no is something you've been learning in this body. And you've attracted some people up until now who gave you opportunities to learn those lessons. Does that land?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
in
so,
the past,
so now recognize if you attract one of those again, or someone like that. And I feel like it's subtle, but it's just, it's not because something's wrong with your energy. It's because it's giving you more confidence that you're not going to go there, so that when you do feel the right one, you're going to be able to relax into it. And you're, and so like, you're not going to be able to relax into it if you don't trust yourself. And so you're still learning to trust yourself a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So when you have those experiences that aren't aligned, go, yay, I just hit the ball. Yay, I hit the ball again. My God, like 10 years ago, the ball would have landed in my face 10 times with a black eye before I would whack the pitcher over the head as he deserved with the bat. And now I'm just hitting them and they're just flying out of the park and it's not even touching me. Okay. So they want that reframe for you. And then, there's been one or two relationships. I feel early on, there was one that was a very gentle relationship and a very nice one. Do you know what that one was? And I don't know if they stayed that way the whole time, but I feel like there was one relationship that, the person was very gentle.
Well, this may sound weird, but when I was like 10 or 8 or something, I had a best friend that was my next door neighbor who was a boy, and we had a really close relationship.
Yeah.
And then, so, but we weren't like, we were just friends.
So
but
I want you to go back to that relationship. He was definitely a soulmate friend. And remember how you felt in that relationship. And pre-puberty was a very safe place for you to have that relationship. So it makes sense.
Mhm.
But I want you to meditate on how, and you miss him sometimes. You miss that. That was a very special relationship. So I want you to meditate and spend some time remembering how beautiful that connection was and all the things that you got from that connection and all the ways in which you experienced and explored that. Because as you think about that and feel into it, you'll be reminding yourself that that is possible, that you've already had it, and that you know how to do it, and that more is coming. Right. And now that you're older, you'll attract someone like that that will also have the romantic piece, because I feel that you needed to go through all this other stuff before you could bring that in from that romantic partnership lens.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that that will help too. And the reframe too is not that I'm not aligned, but I'm aligning. I'm getting ready to, you know, to bring in my divine partner. Like I'm ready to align with that. And I'm moving in that direction. And, you know, Abraham Hicks, again, to quote them, you know, they often say, one of my favorite spiritual teachers. And as I said, like I was called to this area of California, and the channel of Abraham Esther used to live on my street. So the energy is very resonant.
I've seen them on an event too.
Yeah. I wasn't a fan until I moved here, and I didn't even know for 2 years. I mean, I was a fan, but like wasn't. That you know, I had such a close call with their beautiful energy. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But they have a saying that I think is really, really, really helpful. This idea that if you knew what was coming, you wouldn't have to worry about being patient, because you know it was there, and you'd enjoy the process so much more. And the process of life is this constant unfolding, this constant expanding, this constant exploring, this constant discovering. And along the ways, we get the stuff and the money and the cars and the boys and the fame and the followers and whatever else we want. But none of those things are off the table. You can enjoy every single one. But the most delightful way to experience our lives is by living them and enjoying what's here now. Right. And enjoying the hunt and the chase a little bit, not from a place of thinking I'll be happy when I get there, but from a place of, isn't it fun to like be on the prowl? Like, isn't it fun? And, you know, and oftentimes two things will fall in your lap. I think for you, this is going to be something that falls in your lap when you're not having conditions and you're not worrying and you're not tabulating and you're not, but you're just having fun, discovering your life, being open to what is. And I think that's when it's really going to shine for you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Likewise. Namaste.
Namaste to you.
All right. Tangela, did I get everybody?
You did. That was amazing. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. You covered a lot of it resonated with me too, personally. So really beautiful. And I'm sure for everyone, all of you guys watching at home, you really felt the energy and the messages coming through. Because like you were saying before, you know, there is all these universal themes that we're all dealing with, that we're all working through.
And sometimes too, I think that when we're in our own life, you know, because a lot of people, you saw them saying today, I'm processing it. I'm still listening to it, you know, and that's cool. That's good. It's better that you do that and you take the time for it to really land, right? Because sometimes when it's guidance for us, it's moving through all sorts of layers of what we believe, what we know, what we've learned about ourselves, what we've learned about the world. And so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to land. And oddly enough, I find when we're hearing the answer to someone else's question, it's kind of like, you know, your dream guy, you're looking over here and the next thing you know, like he's at your door. Like sometimes it's when we're not looking for it that we find it. And so oftentimes it's much easier to hear the guidance when, you know, the answer is coming to someone else's question.
Definitely. And of course, if you were attracted to tune in either live or the replay, there's a message for you. There's an energetic for you. And so this has been amazing, Victoria. We're so excited. And for all of you guys tuning in live, watching the replay, Victoria will be back with us live next Tuesday at 5 p.m. If you would like to get a reading, all you have to do is scan the QR code we have in the corner of the screen, or you can visit Eventbrite or Soul Search TV, and you can sign up for a reading that way. where there's a limited amount of readings because obviously Victoria has to get to everyone. So for those of you watching, continue to come in, tune in, watch the readings, receive the transmission. And also, if you feel called to receive a personal reading, this is an amazing opportunity to do that with Victoria. So I really encourage all of you to check that out. Click on the link, go to Eventbrite, and sign up for next week. And we'll be doing this for the next 12 weeks. So it's going to be an amazing experience for everyone.
So excited. Thank you so much for this opportunity and to share and to play. And thanks for everyone who came today and shared your questions. I hope that you got the guidance that you were looking for. I know that your guides were happy to share. And I also know that, you know, this is going to support others as well. So thank you to all of you as well.
Definitely. So thank you all of our amazing guests who were brave enough to come on camera for a reading. And for those of you who are watching, who are nervous about coming on camera, no, you do not have to come on camera. You can stay off camera as well if you feel that would be more comfortable. But if you'd like to come on camera, that's totally fine as well. And of course, everyone is learning from all of you. And of course, Victoria, thank you for sharing all of your energy, your wisdom, your guidance, and really opening up this channel for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing.